It's 2012. I'm 13 years old and I'm sitting in a classroom in Delhi and I'm trying to remain calm while Sunita ma'am, my Hindi teacher, is calling out students who have not yet submitted their Hindi notebooks for checking. So in that semester there are 12 chapters and each chapter has about 15 questions and answers. So that's about 200 in total, and I have not written anything. But I had a plan. So I've brought my previous semester's Hindi notebook, and my plan was to show her the last page with the marks and tell her that my current notebook has already been checked. So I wait for my roll number to be called, and she calls it. Then I go up to her with my notebook and the last page opened, and I show her just the last page, and I tell her confidently that my notebook's been already checked. She looks at the marks, she flips through a few pages, and she keeps flipping until she realizes that it's an older notebook, and she slaps me so hard that my glasses fly off. And I wanted that moment to end. I wanted to go back to my table, and I didn't want to be taken to the principal's room, and I didn't want my parents to be called. So I confidently tell her again that I had no idea this was my older notebook. My actual notebook is actually been checked, and I'll bring it tomorrow. She didn't say anything, and I went back to my table. And for a while, everything seemed fine. I talked to my friends, and I saw other students go to her desk to get their notebooks checked. It felt like I had sorted the matter out. But the next day, I needed to do a semester's worth of work and also make it seem like she has already seen the notebook and checked it. And I didn't have anyone to ask for help. If I talk to my friends, they laugh. I definitely can't ask Sunita ma'am because she'll kill me. And I can't talk to my mom because somehow telling her the truth will make matters worse. So at the end of school, I go to a classmate and I ask her for her Hindi notebook, and I tell her that I just need to clarify some doubts with my answers, and I'll return it right back tomorrow. Then I reach back home at around 4:30. I take a brand new notebook and I keep my classmate's notebook next to it, and I start copying all the 200 answers. And I keep copying the whole evening until around 2 a.m. and I start feeling really sleepy. Then I check how many chapters are pending. So around 7 chapters were still pending, and I knew I can't do it that night. So I just went to sleep. And the next morning I decided to wake up with a stomach pain. And my mom believes me because I don't use this trick often. And she also had to go to a clinic for something. So I asked her to take me along with her. So we went to the clinic. And on the way to the clinic in the auto, I thought to myself that I can't tell her any of this. I can't tell her that I have one semester's worth work pending. And I definitely can't tell her that I have lied to my teacher. So we reached the clinic, and I wait for her to finish her consultation, and I sit there for a while. And once she comes back, I tell her that I don't really have the stomach pain now, we can just go back home. So we reach back home, I get back to my notebook and I start copying again. And it's summer in Delhi, and I had no AC in my room, so I was sweating a lot. And sweat was dripping off my hands onto the pages. But then I realized that my notebook is looking too new, so I should probably use the sweat. So I let the sweat fall on the pages. I also fold the corners of my notebook, and I crush some pages and smoothen them right back. I keep copying the whole day until around 11 p.m. when I've completed all the 12 chapters. Then I wait for my parents to sleep, and once they had slept, I take my classmate's notebook and I study Sunita ma'am's ticks, her handwriting and her signature. Then I practice them on a rough notebook. Then I take my notebook and I start with the text first. So page by page, I start ticking all the pages, all the questions and answers. And at the end, in the marks page, I gave myself 21 out of 25. So my classmate got 23, so I think I deserve 21 at least. Then at the end, I carefully trace and put Sunita ma'am's signatures on the marks. I go through the notebook a few more times to see if there's something weird. Then I take a deep breath and put it in my bag and then go sleep. And I go to school the next day, and my friends were teasing me and they wanted to see the notebook, but I knew one of them might be smart enough to understand what was happening, but also dumb enough to go tell everyone about it. So I kept the notebook away from them. And Hindi class started and Sunita ma'am entered and she asks right away about me because I'm the only guy pending. And I stand up and I take the notebook from my bag and I go up to her, I give her the notebook. And she opens the notebook and she flips the pages. She sees the questions and answers. She sees the ticks, the marks and the signatures. And she looks up to me and she says, "You got slapped for no reason." And I smile back and I take the notebook back. I go back to my seat and she starts teaching her usual Hindi class, some stories and stuff. Then that day I take the notebook back home and I keep it along some other old school notebooks I had. And I try to stop thinking about it until one day, 4 years later, when me and my mom were cleaning up the cupboard and I found the notebook again. I go through it again, I see the questions and answers and the marks and the ticks and the signatures. And the whole incident seemed very silly to me now and it was very funny. So I decided to tell my mom I decided to show the notebook to my mom and tell her everything. And she actually laughed about it. And I tell her everything, realizing that I could never have told this to her when I was 13. And I was able to tell her all this right now because I'm no longer that person. Thank you.